Welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, and this is episode 912 of Living Free in Tennessee. And Wednesday shows are winding down. This is my second to last show, but I'm going to be joined with the perfect interview for a second to last show. So I'm super excited that this app came in. We're going to start changing how we do interviews after that. And I'll be joined by Dalia Monterroso, who's president of Chickenlandia. We're going to talk about chickens. That's what we're going to talk about. Before we dive into that, I wanted to talk about our featured event of today's show. I have 2 seats left in Saturday's chicken processing workshop, and I decided I'd promote it today because of the topic of today's show. So if you're interested in coming to the LFTN chicken processing workshop in Lancaster, Tennessee, it starts at 8:30 a.m. Saturday, so we don't fry. And about an hour east of Nashville. Go to livingfreeintennessee.com to grab your tickets. I also want to thank our 2 sponsors of today's show. Our first sponsor is Discount Mylar Bags. Toby over at Discount Mylar Bags reached out to me in like the second year of my podcast and said, "Can I sponsor you?" And I said, "No, because I only have 500 followers." So instead, he offered to get me a really good deal on my coffee bags for Hollow Roast Coffee. And ever since then, that's been our exclusive supplier. Well, when we finally did grow large enough to do sponsors, he was one of the first sponsors to sign on. And if you are a member of Living Free in Tennessee, you do get a discount on purchases there. What he specializes in is just sourcing the Mylar bags in bulk and passing on the savings to you. It's that simple. Check out that at discountmylarbags.com. If you are in Tennessee, he is a Tennessee business too, so you can be supporting local. Our second sponsor of today's show is agoristaxadvice.com. Matthew Sursley at agoristaxadvice.com is a great advisor to work with to analyze where your income streams are coming from and to suggest ways you can structure yourself so that you keep more of your money in your pockets. He also talks you through risks associated with any tax write-offs you choose to take and make sure that you understand what proper documentation looks like. Check out more at agoristaxadvice.com, and he has a free webinar you can sign up for right now, agoristaxadvice.com/webinar. With that, we're going to dive straight into this discussion. I've been looking forward to it all day long. Dalia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about all of your chicken things. But before we do that, why don't you tell everybody, who are you and what brought you to what you're doing today?
Well, my name is Dalia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, but most people know me as the president of Chickenlandia. I've been teaching people about chickens for a long time, but I think most people know me from my YouTube channel, which came out about 7 years ago. And that is called Welcome to Chickenlandia. And I also have a podcast called Bach Talk. And I put a book out last year and I have an online course, but really the YouTube channel is like my biggest platform.
Okay, well, let's start with the most important question. Why chickens?
Why not? I, as somebody who did not, I grew up really separated from my food, and not just separated from my food, but separated from my culture. And I think, when we're separated from our food, we're automatically separated from who we are and from our culture. So that is not a unique experience. A lot of people have that experience. So I feel like chickens is, people call it the gateway drug, to homesteading. And
it totally is.
Yes. There's a reason for that, because it's fun. People get mad at me when I say this, but I will say it's easy. And the reason I say that is because I want people to understand that we're not reinventing the wheel. This is something that we've done for literally millennia. So it's important for me to tell people, hey, remember this is in us. You're not doing something that is just going to be this really tough thing to figure out. This is chicken keeping. We've had this symbiotic relationship with chickens for a really long time, so you can do it. And also it just, it's one of those things where my chickens don't care if I don't feel good. They don't care if I want to sit inside and look at my phone all day. Um, they don't care what I'm doing. I have to get out there every day and be with them and care for them. And for a lot of people, that might be the only time they're outside and have that active connection with nature. So to me, and especially after COVID happened, I really felt like this connection with nature is so important, not just for our health. And obviously there's eggs, there's fresh eggs. That's like the perk, right? There's that. Um, but also that connection with nature can help us to understand where we come from and who we are. And that's how deep it goes for me, and why chickens, why it means so much to me. Because for me, I feel like it helped me to find out who I am and what my purpose is. So that's why chickens.
That's a very deep answer. So do you remember producing your very first egg from your flock?
Yeah, I felt like I laid it. I felt like I literally laid that
Was
egg.
it like this big? Was it a tiny egg?
I don't know. It wasn't like really small, which is funny because I had bantams. But it was pretty small, and I had become so passionate about chickens already. I just went through like this, almost like this spiritual awakening when I got chickens. I became so passionate about them that I almost forgot that the reason I'm doing this is for the eggs. That was the original reason. I also wanted to have a something to do for myself that didn't I was a new mom. I was struggling with that. Not wanting to be a new mom. It's not that I didn't want to be a mom, but I had postpartum depression, and it was really rough on me. And I was already in my little one was almost 2 years old. And a lot of people don't know postpartum depression can last for years. So I was in that and really kind of struggling with my identity. So I got the chickens. I went through this transformation, like this divine intervention occurred. And by the time I got my first egg, I was like, oh yeah, then there's this. Like, like I already have like all these benefits, and it's helped me so much and improved my life so much and given me a purpose. And also I get breakfast, like I get eggs, and it was the most delicious egg that I had had up until that point for a number of reasons.
I remember when we got our first eggs here, and they were good, like obviously better than any eggs I'd had. And we had eaten them for about 6 months exclusively when we went on vacation and
Yeah.
ate eggs at a restaurant. And so I had like homegrown eggs for the first time in 6 months. And I had no idea how good homegrown eggs really were
Yeah.
until I went back.
Yeah. And it's like, is this styrofoam? Like, what is this?
How did you get it that color? you know? And
Yeah. My little one, he grew up, from the time he was about 18 months old when I got chickens. And then he started having fresh eggs, and same, we went on vacation. I tried to give him a hard-boiled egg because he liked hard-boiled eggs. And he was just like, ugh, like he wouldn't eat it.
I'm with your kid on that
Boiled,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, no, the store eggs, I'd
Yeah.
rather not eat eggs at this point. So you said they helped you find a purpose. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looked like, what led to you finding your purpose, and what you would say your purpose is as a result of having chickens?
Well, I had mentioned before I had postpartum depression. We had we had been here a few years. I'm in the Pacific Northwest now, but before that, I lived in Los Angeles, and I was working in the entertainment industry, and I was really playing that game. I was wanting to be a filmmaker. I was wanting to be a writer. So I was there for about 5 years. And then I met who was soon to be my husband. And I really started thinking, like, what kind of future do I want? And if we're going to get married and have children, like, what kind of future do I want for them? And so nothing against Los Angeles, but I didn't want to raise our kids there. And so I was like, let's think about other places where we could go. And so we left and we moved up here. My husband's Canadian. We're like 30 minutes from the Canadian border, and he can work. He's still in the industry, but he can like live anywhere and work from anywhere. So as long as there's an airport, not anywhere, but we can't get too far out.
You want internet in an airport. Gotcha.
Yes. Yes. So I thought I was okay with that decision. And I was, but it was tough. And after I had my first baby and I was dealing with that depression, I really started to mourn the loss of my dreams. And they were dreams that I had from the time I was a little kid. And I was feeling like I didn't really have an identity beyond just being a mother and a wife, which is beautiful. I love that. But I just wanted something else. And I was like, chickens, why? there's the why chickens. I don't know why. I just thought chickens. So I got them, and I mean, honestly, like from the time I took them and I brought them home in a little bag. They were in a paper sack from the farm store. And I had never even, I think I had held a baby chick once before that moment. It was in Guatemala. I met this crazy chicken lady. I thought, wow, this lady is crazy. She was a relative of mine, and she was like, hold these baby chicks. And she was so excited. And I was like, okay. So I have not been like had that much interaction with chickens. I didn't really think that much about it. I mean, of course I had done research and everything, but when I had those baby chicks in my hand and they were both, really resilient because they're already like chickening, they're tiny, but they're like pecking, scratching, but also very fragile. And I put them into the brooder and I'm like, okay, I'm responsible for these animals. And like I said, I don't know what happened, but it gave me a new dream. And I needed that so bad during that time. I needed to find a new purpose. Beyond, I mean, of course I had the purpose of my family, which is the most important purpose of my life, but I needed something else, a new passion, so that I could thrive and show them what that means, show my kids what that means. And it was like this boulder rolling down a hill. I could not stop it. And it was 6 months later that the local community college contacted me because I had been posting so much on Facebook, and I guess I had done some part-time work at the community college, and somebody saw how much I was posting about chickens. And the community college contacted me and they were like, can you teach a 3-hour class chickens? In my head, I'm like, okay, I've had them for 6 months. Am I really the right person for this? But I wanted it so bad. And I was like, yes. And did a whole bunch of research and put this class together. When the class was over, a woman came up to me. She's an older woman. She said, you know what? I've had chickens for 30 years and I learned more today than I ever knew about them. And that was it. It was like, okay, this is who I am. And then it was like steps from there because I was teaching locally. I started doing the YouTube channel, but I was like, it's just going to be, I came from film industry. So I was like, it's just going to be entertainment. It's just going to be like funny videos. And there's like super cringy videos from, from when I first started. And then
every YouTube channel should start with cringy videos. It's just the way it should be.
And then, but it was like I said, it's like this boulder rolling down a hill. I had people saying, okay, but this is funny. We love this, but we want to know about such and such, we need help with such and such, having to do with chickens, and, please help us. And I feel like I was just kind of appointed, it was like, I'm the president of Chickenlandia. Like I was, I was like, I was put in that position. And finally I just said, okay, I'm just going to go with it. And then when COVID happened, it really took off. And I already had like my book deal at that point. But the popularity of chicken keeping just skyrocketed. So it was not a great time in so many ways. But it was a great time if you're a backyard chicken educator. Like, it was the best thing that ever happened to my business. And I love to see that. I love to see people getting chickens. That's just my favorite thing.
So it is 100% okay to have something for yourself. And when you tell your story, what's interesting is it almost sounds like I know you don't, but it almost sounds like you feel a little guilty about, like, of course I'm a mom and that's my purpose, but I needed this other thing.
I am it's like a preemptive strike against comments.
So, and I'm going to talk about that because I could tell it wasn't really coming from like you,
Yeah.
but um, one of the things in sort of the homesteaders movement that I think is powerful and amazing is how much women do.
Yeah.
Like, they're like the heart blood of the homesteaders movement, and they're out there doing things that people tell them they can't do all the time, first of
Yeah.
all. And finding a balance between how do I be a mom and a homemaker and all those things, and also have something for me, because eventually the kids grow up.
Yeah.
And then where are you, right? So I think it's beautiful that you have found a purpose that meshes well with your priorities and your family. And I wanted to commend you for that
Oh,
rather
thank
than
you.
I mean, like, we're behind you 100%. I don't think anybody in my audience would give you a
Oh,
hard time
good.
for having found a purpose. But it's always that, like, oh, people are going to come at me because, I had the audacity to have postpartum depression. No, that happened.
Yeah.
We should
Yeah.
talk
I
about it
mean,
more so that women who find themselves in that situation aren't like, now what do I do? Because this isn't right and it's not natural and it's not okay. Actually,
yes.
maybe get some support. It is okay.
Yes. And I do if you listen to every single podcast where I'm being interviewed, I do talk about it. I talk about that. I talk about perimenopause because the chickens are helping me get through that too. Okay.
That
As
gets
much as they
better with
can.
time.
That's what I've been told.
I looked forward to it my whole life, and I'm like, "Really?
Oh
They couldn't
gosh.
make
It's
this
hot.
okay? Like, this the best
It's
time of
hot
my
in
life?"
here. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. "Nicole, you look sunburned." "No, I'm having a hot flash." "Why?" At least I'm not embarrassed about it, like, when I was 12, that would have been embarrassing. Now I just don't care. So,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
like
It's like
the
I'm
"I
too
just
old to
don't
care.
care" gene, like, gets stronger as we get further into the journey.
Yes. Oh goodness.
Yeah. I love how you also position raising chickens as because it's easy.
Yeah.
Like, how many times do you see people saying, "I want to raise chickens, but research, research, research," and they're researching all of these details of chickens and not just getting some stupid little birds and raising them.
Yeah. Yes, and I do get, like I said, I get a lot of flack for that statement. And I get it. I get it. Like, there's other educators, and as educators, we see situations sometimes that aren't great. But the worst situation I've ever seen is happening in factory farms. So I want to see as many chickens as possible not in those places. That is my goal. So, it- I have to constantly balance. Like, I understand that there are going to be people that aren't taking the greatest care of their chickens. The way that you combat that is through education. And so that's what I'm trying to do. Just educate, educate, educate. But it does, I mean, like when you ask, how many people have you seen that are like, I want to do it, but I'm scared because of whatever, they've seen online. Eh, all the time. I see that all the time, and I will tell them, "You can do this. Like, there's no reason why, besides maybe like, physical or mental things that you have going on that would prevent you from just doing the daily care. But eh, I mean, I think not only it can help with some of those things, like I have physical issues, and also I can, I struggle with every day just like everybody else. And getting outside and dealing with my chickens has been one of the best things that I've ever done for my health, both mental and physical health. So I don't know. I'm on a campaign to just really encourage people to do this, and I do focus on urban and suburban settings. I think that if we really, if we're really committed to do some things that are going to be better for our health, just as a species, for the planet, all of that, then we've got to also include those areas, because there's a lot of people in those areas and a lot of them don't even have access to like a grocery store, much less fresh eggs. So I'm like, let's get, apartment complexes to have chickens, like they have community gardens. Let's have community chickens,
Yeah.
Let's have chickens on the rooftops. Let's let's do it. They're very adaptable animals. They have been by our side through war, through famine, through natural disaster. They have been there, and they've helped us survive those things. So, yeah, I just tell people, do it. Go for it, and find someone. Of course, do research and learn how to do it before you bring baby chicks home. Although I have helped people that they're like, I just came home with baby chicks and I have nothing.
I did that with ducks, but I'd already raised chickens.
Yeah.
The ducks were really cute.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh goodness. But yeah, do your research. But if somebody's telling you, you can't afford it, it's too hard. You're not the right kind of person to do it, that I would say, those are red flags. Like uh, I don't want to disparage anyone, and I understand that we don't want to see chickens mistreated, but in general, this is for everybody.
Yeah, if
So,
you can keep your chickens in food and water and out of their own poop,
yeah.
not too hot and not too cold, you've got it. Like
Yeah,
disease,
you got it.
like illnesses will come up.
Yeah.
And I think the hard part about livestock is that they get sick, they get hurt. I mean, your dog gets sick and gets hurt if you have other
Mhm.
pets. It's part of the process. They'll age out eventually. Like all of those things happen, and that's your commitment when you commit to an animal, is like you're there to reasonably help them in situations like that. But at the same time, I haven't met an animal who isn't just naturally happy.
Yeah.
Like they're just, unless you've done something to the animal, they wake up and they're like, the sun's up. Yay. I'm gonna go do my chicken thing and peck around and
Mhm.
find
Yes.
bugs and all the things that and scratch and all the things that chickens do. And it's, when you're having a bad day, and some people, like, it's weird how energetically all of us will have a bad day on the same day. So I
Yeah.
think it was Sunday. It might have been Sunday. It was Sunday or Monday. It I heard other it was Monday. I just didn't wanna get up and go to the gym today, like statements like that. And I was like, "Neither did I." I
That's
also
funny.
went
I
and I
didn't
saw
either.
my sheep because they're really cute, right? And that exposure to that animal who's like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo," it makes a difference. It may not fix everything, but it's better than, telling yourself you don't wanna go to the gym, which
Yes.
it's not an unusual state of being for those of us who go to the gym.
Yes.
The other thing is I've never gone to the gym, gotten through with getting at the gym, and then left the gym and was like, "Man, I wish I hadn't gone to the gym." There's
Yes.
always that pre-time that's hard.
Yes.
So,
I I work with a lot of people on all different, all different walks of life. And one of the things that's really important for me is just making chicken keeping accessible for everybody. And so I do have people that are like, look, I can't afford to take my chickens to the vet. And then I have people that are like, all of my chickens go to the vet, like that's just the span of different people that I work with. And for those that really love their chickens, they're like pets, but they can't afford to take them to the vet. And then a chicken gets sick and dies. That's really, really hard for them. But I will always say, you know what? Your chicken who got to feel the sun, got to scratch the earth, um, ate bugs, they had a better life than most chickens in the entire world. Like most chickens in the world are in factory settings. And so even if they only got a little while for whatever reason, and production breeds aren't, especially if they're from hatcheries or whatever, they just aren't that resilient. I mean, they're bred to lay and lay and lay and lay, for the first year or two of their life. So it's not uncommon for them to have issues once they get past a certain age. And but still, it's like they had this amazing life. And so that's another thing that I tell people is, wherever you're at in life, whatever your circumstances are, it's very likely that you can provide a good home for some chickens, So it's another thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah. We just had somebody say people take chickens to the vet. Yes, they
Oh,
do.
yeah.
They give
I
them
mean,
they put little diapers on them in the house, like, they do all sorts of stuff.
yes, and it's all good. Like, I'm
Exactly, so whatever you wanna do. I had a lamb in my house in the dog crate for 4 weeks this year.
Oh, wow.
She was a bottle lamb, and I was like, "I either get up and go out to the pasture, or she's in here close to me for
Yeah.
the nighttime bottle," so, yeah,
Yeah, those are like baby, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So, okay, so, um, what else is on your homestead besides chickens at this point?
I have ducks and I have dogs.
Do they all
Uh,
get along?
yeah, well, the dogs are, I have little rescue dogs. 3 of them are hairless, mixes. They're Xoloitzcuintlis, squintlies, say that 10 times fast, or otherwise known as Mexican hairless, mixed with Chihuahua. And then I have a poodle. And they're these cute, sweet little dogs, but they cannot be near my chickens. They cannot. They have proved
So they're into the squeaky toys.
that yes, and it's always the favorite. You
Yeah.
know.
It's that's the other thing is, when you have livestock, it's your favorite who gets sick.
Oh
It's
yeah.
almost like the unwritten rule.
Yes.
I liked that one. Part of it is the ones who are under the weather are the ones you form the closest relationship with. If
Yeah.
you helped them, like I had early on, I had some scissor beak chickens, and I
Yeah.
had one who, like, if you put his crumble in a pile, he could eat, and otherwise he couldn't. So of course he got his little individual pile of crumble every day. And he
I
didn't
love
last
that
very
stuff.
he was fine for a while. He'd sit on my shoulder while I worked and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah, he genetically should not have been allowed to pass anything on, and he didn't. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody else had scissor beak, but, so, yes, and they will laugh at me because I sort of do survival of the fittest is my approach here. I want strong genetics, but I will help an animal if I can.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not I'm not just gonna be like, "Boop, you're out."
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my chickens are rescues. And I basically have a retirement home for chickens. So I'm not like the poster child for, uh, the whole survival of the fittest thing. I respect that greatly. And I certainly like support that. I think because I feel like chickens have done so much for me in my life, like they really, really changed my life, that I am paying that back to them. But that's my flock. And, um, not every flock is like that. A lot of people have their chickens, they need the eggs, the chickens need to be laying and have that purpose if they're going to be on their homestead. And my main thing, again, like that's a chicken that's not in a factory farm, and they're living a great life, serving a wonderful purpose, and then they'll become a different purpose once that's over. So certainly I advocate for that as much as possible. But I kind of see myself as like the liaison between like the total city people that they're very far removed from everything. And if they do get chickens, it's like they're taking them to, like I said, taking them to the vet, for the checkup or whatever. And then like the homesteading, I'm kind of like in the middle, and I want to be that bridge. I'm the president, but I kind of think of myself as the ambassador, ambassador from Chickenlandia.
Any way you raise your chicken is the right way to raise your chicken. That's part of it. Is in the city, you usually only have female chickens. You usually have some sort of limit based on space that you've got. And most people are raising those chickens for eggs. And the thought of me having a processing class this coming weekend would probably freak them out. Out in the country, it's a little bit different. Like we really want our, on my homestead, we really want our meat to come from the land too. And so we have done our best to kind of do what Joel Salatin does, let the chickenness of the chicken happen. And they have one bad moment.
Yeah.
What they don't have is a Tyson factory farm where, a certain percentage of loss is fine, and they're walking around their dead brethren like packed into this.
And someone's working. Human beings are working in those farms.
Yes.
Yeah, farms. I use that word very.
Yeah, no, I had a friend who his first job out of high school was at one of those farms. And what they would do is they would pick them up and move them to bigger facilities as they grew. And I'm not going to explain on this podcast today what happened to the chickens as part of being moved. But he was like, the first day I was there, I was like, I have to turn off all emotion to work this job.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah.
So that would be a whole nother show to do. Would be why you want to pay $25 at the farmer's market for that pasture raised bird that you can trust was really raised at a pasture. So anyway, what skills would you say you've gained from raising chickens that you think are important for homesteaders?
I think one of the most important skills is, and I'm still working on it, but I have learned to listen to my gut. When you're keeping chickens, and I would imagine this is true for any animal, and it's even true for raising kids or doing homeschool or whatever, you're going to come up against issues where you don't know what to do. And so you may go out into the community, and let's say you go on Facebook and you're like, hey, I have this chicken that's sitting in a corner and it's just sneezing or whatever. What do I do? And you will get many different comments back, including, burn the coop down or whatever.
You're a bad person for having chickens.
Yes. Like, why? And it can get really confusing. And it's in these moments that I tell people, listen, in my book, I have actually a list of rules. It's not, Chickenlandia is not big on rules, but it's kind of things that you can keep in mind that will help you to get through the experience better, and just keep it as your foundation. And the number one rule is listen to your heart. And usually in those moments where you don't know what to do, that's the time to sit down and think, okay, this is not a new experience for humanity. I'm participating in something that has been done for a very long time. What is my gut telling me to do in this moment? And I would say go with that. And that's a very important skill, not just in the chicken yard, but in life. And certainly children, if they can start to learn that skill, start to trust their instincts early, that is very, very valuable for their whole lives. So I would say that was very unexpected. I didn't And it happens all the time. I just had a chicken. I didn't realize how old she was. She was so old, okay? I did not realize how old she was, and she got sick, and I was, like, trying to treat her and all this stuff. If I had just stopped and listened to myself, because in my mind, I was like, "I shouldn't be doing this. I should just let her go." But I didn't listen. I'm feeling guilty and having all of those emotions. And so here I am trying to trying to save this chicken. She was, like, 11 years old.
That's pretty good
I
run.
I didn't even and after she died, I I met my friend that I got her from, and he was like, that was like, when I can't even remember. It was like 2014 when I got her, and she was already a year and a half old." And I said, "Oh my gosh, why did I give that chicken medicine and everything?" Like, but yeah, I mean, I think, I kind of look at the chicken yard almost like a mini world. It's like a mini city, and I look at it, it kind of reflects back to me the experiences that I have in my life as a human being. So learning to trust myself has just been a really valuable skill that I have developed more. Still working on it, like I said, but I've developed it more since I've had chickens.
Yeah, there's the voice in the back of your head that's usually right. But the other thing when you're raising livestock, if you see them every day, you don't know that you've observed something different necessarily consciously, but you have observed that that animal's because you'll be like, I need to look at that one.
Yeah.
And then you're like, anybody else from the outside wouldn't think so. And you're like, nope, that one doesn't behave that way.
Yeah, and I do tell people, like, it is so important for you to go outside every day and spend time with your flock and observe them, see how they act, what's normal behavior for your chickens, because that is the time, like, when you see like what you just said, when you see something different, you'll know, okay, what's I need to keep an eye on that bird because there might be something going on with her. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the biggest mistake you've seen people make who are integrating birds into their homestead? And you're like, man, you could have made your life easier if you just would not have done that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's easy. Believe me, I put mine in the wrong place on my homestead the first time I had to move them. So,
They don't think about drainage. So, especially if you live in an area, and even if you're in the desert, you've got the monsoons to deal with, and during that time, there's a lot of rain. So chickens, um, they will change the landscape over time. So certainly, if you have them in an enclosed run or an enclosed area for a certain amount of time, that area is going to be look way different in a year than it did when you first put them there. They're going to dig holes. Depending on how big their area is, whatever foliage and plant life is there, they're going to disturb that at the very least, if not just
disturbance
completely
such
wipe
a
it
cute
out.
word.
Yes. um, it is so important for you to think about drainage, because mud, mixed with chicken droppings, like that is a recipe for disease. So there are things that you can do, on my YouTube channel. I have like the mud hack that I kind of like. That was like one of my first videos that like went viral. There's things that you can do to deal with issues if you have standing water, but the best case scenario would be for you not to have that situation to begin with. So if you need to, if the area you need to put your chickens in doesn't have great drainage, you really need to think about regrading that area or doing something in it to fix the drainage, because you don't want to be dealing with standing water in the chicken yard. And I've seen that so much where literally, like, the coop is flooded, or the chickens, they can't leave the coop because it's just water. So, that's not a great scenario for your flock. You definitely don't want that. Um, so yeah, I would think about that. And the other thing is they need sun and they need shade. So, think about that too, no matter
They
where
need
you live, think
shade
about
all
that too.
day, not just at the height of the day.
Yeah.
They will regulate themselves if they have shade to go to, and if you don't
Yeah.
have that, they will overheat and you will find a dead chicken for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then we're going into that season now, most of the I'm in the Pacific Northwest, it's like
Yeah.
50 degrees outside.
I know your climate well.
But in most places, it's getting hot, it's starting to get hot, and so, um, the other thing that's really important is get the right chickens for your climate. Do some research. If you're in an extreme cold climate, get cold hardy chickens. If you're in an extreme hot climate, get heat hardy chickens. You will just be so much better off if you do that. Just research what you're wanting to get. Don't just like look at the frizzles and say, okay, I'm getting 20 of those.
I mean, that's how most of us made our first choices, isn't
Yes.
it? I think I got what did I get? I got Rhode Island Reds because my neighbor said they lay an egg every day. That was,
Oh,
but I
yeah,
had a
they're
whole
great.
I had a whole mix. I have an Americana that is 10 years old in my yard right now.
Oh,
She
good for
is
you.
referred to as the yard chicken because the other chickens are in their chicken place, but she was raised with ducks, and I had chickens and ducks, which was a great combination, from the chickens stir around in the deep litter in the coop standpoint,
Yeah,
and ducks,
yes.
like, tap it down if you have a chicken, which is then I have to become the chicken, but over the years, everybody else has died, and I don't want free range chickens on my homestead anymore because they rip my stuff up that I don't want
Oh,
them to
yeah.
rip up. But this one, I'm like, she has earned her place to die of old age on my homestead. 3 years ago, she was like walking around looking really awful and just following us, like, I want to be with
Mm.
you, which is not how she usually is. And we were sure she was going to be toasted. She disappeared for 2 days. Came back like vibrant, fine. She's still around. So
Wow.
she's got good genetics. Yeah, she won the genetic lottery, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah, and some of them, I really feel like they've just got a little bit of human
yeah,
inside, they look at you and you're like, you you're looking at me like you understand more than you should. So, yeah. So
yeah.
they're special, they're special.
Yeah, we've entered the time here. It's warm enough where clutch setting is happening. So
Mm, oh, yeah.
so I've got chickens on eggs, I've got ducks on eggs. Everybody's confused and grumpy ladies out there like, leave me alone.
It's like, I
So,
got enough hormones to deal with.
yeah,
Now I
it's
gotta deal with
chaos.
you.
Um, are there some other so everybody has their pet thing they do that's like the natural preventative treatment for chickens, like apple cider vinegar in the water or those sorts of things. Like what sorts of those kinds of things do you recommend people look into if they're raising an urban or suburban flock or a backyard flock of some sort?
Well, I mean, I think that the main thing when you have a suburban or urban flock, there's just no denying that chickens that are on pasture are going to lay healthier eggs. And, they just have access to that microbiome and the soil and all that good, all those good greens and everything. And they're just going to lay healthier eggs. That's part of it. We know that we can, not every situation is going to be ideal. I like to tell people, I should live in Hawaii. Like I really should. That would be my best case scenario. I do not live in Hawaii. So not every chicken needs to be on pasture. It's okay. But there are some things, if your chickens are going to be on the same ground year after year, there are some things that you will have to you'll have to get some systems into place in order to avoid parasite infestation, disease, and also you want to get some healthy things into your chickens. Okay. Even though they're not on pasture. So rooster booster. So, so I love having chicken salad bars, and not the chicken salad that we're thinking, but just like it's basically like a raised bed, or you can use a pot, or you can use whatever container that can be covered in wire. So you can fill that with dirt, cover the top with wire, and then plant, put some seeds. Probably you'll need to do it before you cover it with wire, but plant some seeds in there of, grasses or grains or different herbs, just anything that would be good for chickens to eat. And what will happen is it will grow, the plant life will grow up through the wiring, and your chickens can eat the top of it, but they can't destroy the plants themselves. So they won't they won't eat all the seeds before they get a chance to grow. They won't disturb the roots, all of that. So that is a great thing to do if you are in an enclosed area, if you have your chickens on a smaller space. The other thing that you can do is make sure, and this you really should do wherever you live, make sure that your chickens have a place to dust bathe all year round. So if you are, if you have your chickens in a smaller area and during the winter and fall, they don't really have a place where they can dust bathe. What you will want to do is get like a container. At the very least, all you need to do is put dirt in it. As long as it's dry dirt, they can dust bathe in it.
Yeah.
Now you can get all kinds of stuff to put in it. You can put diatomaceous earth in it. You can put wood ash in it. You can put lavender and peppermint and lemon balm, in it. And they can have just like the spa experience. You can put First Saturday lime in it. So, but they need to have that even in the winter. Not only will it help with, to curb parasite infestation, but it's also an activity that helps them to keep from getting bored. And boredom, like bored chickens, are going to get into trouble. They will get into trouble. They can develop compulsive habits against each other, like feather picking, bullying, stuff like that. They can get stressed out. And when they're stressed out, they can get disease. Disease can lead to parasite infestation. And it's kind of this cycle. So the other thing that I would suggest for people is to offer enrichment within their space. So you have the right amount of chickens for the amount of space that you have. And then, give them some branches to stand on. None of this needs to be expensive, give them some branches, get a cabbage and cut it in half, put it on a Frisbee and put the Frisbee out there. There's so many
Hang it
things.
up so they have to.
Yeah, you can do that too. If you have like a shish kebab, you can put fruit, vegetables on it and hit up out there. Or even like a string, you can string up some things out there for them to peck on. But you don't want them to get bored. You don't want them to get stressed out, And then the herbs, really the top herbs, I would recommend oregano, thyme, and garlic is a great one. And these are things that are just general healthy things that you can do for your chickens. Apple cider vinegar is great. When it gets really, really hot, if you're going through a heat wave, stop apple cider vinegar. And you can do electrolytes during that time if you feel like you need to. Yeah, that's my list.
That's a good list. Okay, Rachel has a question. Would chinchilla dust work? Which I don't know anything.
So what that is? I know, like, is it made from chinchillas? No. So I don't know. I know they need to dust bathe, but I don't know like what the ingredients would be in the chinchilla dust. My hunch is it's probably okay, but I don't know exactly what's in it.
As long as it's not Sevin dust, that's a different kind of dust.
No. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Okay, Wendy Homestead says, I put a box of diatomaceous earth in the coop this winter and they just filled it with bedding. Should I do it differently? Make a platform, stairs? They bathed in the mud. So they filled the box with litter and they went out and bathed in the mud.
These chickens.
Because they're chickens. And chickens don't read books, just for the record.
I had a litter box that had a clear top on it. So it was like one of those enclosed litter boxes, but it had a clear top, so they didn't get the dust everywhere, like, because basically they'll empty out the dust container, the dust bath, if it's not contained. So that was pretty cool. When I had a smaller coop, I had that. I would not just put diatomaceous earth in the box. I would put dirt and then some diatomaceous earth, but make the base a dirt. And if you can find something that doesn't have like chemicals in it or whatever, just get some soil. Best case scenario would be you just get dirt from your yard, but in the middle of the winter, that might be hard. So if you can find just some kind of soil, as long as it doesn't have like chemical fertilizers or pesticides in it or anything like that, anything weird, it should be fine for the chickens. And so, yeah, I wouldn't just put diatomaceous earth because it's so dusty. They might not, it's almost like they're on a pillow or something. So they might not really want to bathe in that like they should.
Yeah. And the reason she's bringing up the pesticides and fertilizers, guys, is many of those bags of soil you buy at the store have pellets of fertilizer in it that they will then see that they're a delightful different color than the soil, and then they're going to eat that. And I'm not sure you want your chicken eating straight fertilizer. So yeah, genius. Box with a lid. Hadn't thought of that. Yep. And I mean, exactly. You can dig some dirt and put it in your barn for a few days and let it dry out too, even if it is wet. So
yeah.
Yes. But it's amazing how many of these tools we just have right outside our window right now.
Yeah, we do. Like the sun and the dirt.
I think one of my favorite parts of chickens is that they are composters. So for us, part of our waste disposal plan is that the chickens get all the scraps from the kitchen.
Yeah. And I think that's great. I absolutely think that's great.
And then it's easier to compost it from there.
Yeah.
So,
and traditionally that has been what we have. That has been the relationship that we've had with chickens. It was a very sustainable relationship. So they would eat what we wasted, and in turn they would give us food. So it wasn't until very recently that we've turned this thing that was traditionally so sustainable into something that now requires extra resources. I'm not speaking poorly about bells and whistles. I absolutely love all the bells and whistles, my chickens are really spoiled, but I just always encourage people to just remember that foundation. I mean, our chickens today, especially the production breeds, they're different than even chickens 100 years ago. And so I do say that if you can, give them the base of layer feed. But that's not the only valid way to feed chickens. Like if you have chickens and all they're eating is compost, like I'm like, thumbs up,
I know people who do it. We don't do it. We give them free access to chicken feed, but they'd rather eat the compost.
Oh yeah.
But when they need something in that feed, I just assume they'll go back to what they need. That's how we do it here. And that's because we can currently afford it and we can source it.
Yes.
In 2020, the people I knew who lived in like near DC and those sorts of places who did best were putting pictures of their backyard chicken eggs up and like, well, breakfast is covered. I don't have to go to the store. Shutdowns are happening. Like, this is my life right now. And they were sharing with neighbors and trying to get neighbors started with chickens. And I think that's part of why I'm sure you saw a big surge in 2020 because everybody's like, but how do I take care of the bird? And what if it has scissor beak? Or what if its legs starts doing splay legs? Or all of those
you name it and it'll happen to a chicken.
Yeah. Ducks too. All right. Well, if people want to like take your course, connect with you on YouTube, find out more about you, like how do they do that?
Awesome. Okay. So I have my YouTube channel. That's Welcome to Chickenlandia. That's the name of the YouTube channel. My podcast is called Bach Talk. BAWKTAWK.
Bach Talk.
Yes, Bach Talk. What else? I've got my book. It's called Let's All Keep Chickens. Gosh, I had to think about that for a second. Let's All Keep Chickens, and that's available on Amazon and on at Barnes and Noble. And they have it at Tractor Supply. You can just get it, and if you're local, go to your local bookstore and tell them to get it and get it from them. And then my online course is called Backyard Chickens 101, a chicken course for everyone. And all of these things, and of course, I'm all over. I'm on Instagram and Facebook and all that. You can get access to all of these things from my website. It is welcometochickenlandia.com.
All right, guys. So on the audio podcast, all of those links are in the show notes. Welcome to chickenlandia.com. If you didn't hear that the first time, definitely reach out to Dalia, connect with her. I'm excited about your projects that you're working on. And thanks for being on the show.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, folks, if you like the show and want to support the work I'm doing here, you can do it in 2 ways. 1, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. 2, consider becoming a member. Head over to livingfreeintennessee.com to find out more. With that, go out, make it a great week.